Arizona, youngest of our states, is a land of many contrasts. It's a state where nature displays the evidence of its geological handiwork, of countless ages of upheaval and erosion, and where man too digs canyons and moves mountains to produce minerals vital to modern civilization. Arizona, where ancient fallen trees have turned to stone, the petrified forests, and where trees grown in America's largest ponderosa pine forests are harvested for their lumber. Arizona has barren deserts that would hardly support a jackrabbit, but also fertile farms where irrigation brings bumper crops. Here in irrigated valleys, citrus fruits ripen in the warm desert sun, while snows of winter lie on mountain peaks. The state where city-grown dudes of all ages come to play cowboy, and where real cowboys work at their old-time trade, raising beef for the nation's table. Arizona, with vast stretches of plain, the true wide-open spaces where man is seldom seen, and with growing cities pulsing with trade, playing host to thousands of visitors. Here modern buildings reach skyward, monuments to man's victory over the desert. Yet not far away, huts of log and mud are home to those who cling to primitive ways amid a changing world. Yes, all of these contrasts of cultures, of the old and the new, of climate and geography, are Arizona today. Arizona didn't become a state until 1912. Yet its exploration began over 4 centuries ago when Spanish conquistadors looked for legendary cities with silver houses and golden streets. Instead, they found the drab pueblos of Indians who had no treasure. Later, missions were established, like Tumacacori, a relic of the Spanish and Mexican periods in Arizona's history. There was little development of mineral resources then, but when the United States secured Arizona territory from Mexico, an era of intense exploitation began. The search for gold and silver started by the conquistadors was taken up by prospectors with the same desire for quick riches. It was a dangerous quest, with the threat of death hovering ever near. Prospecting in those days was a constant gamble against hostile Indians, against hunger and thirst, and other hazards of desert and mountain. Some lost the gamble, but others forged ahead to strike it rich, to possess that bit of stuff that started boom mining towns like Wickenburg, Globe, Bisbee, and Tombstone, the roughest and toughest of them all. Tombstone, where gamblers and desperados made fortunes without digging, where the law was that of the six-shooter, and where killings for gain or grudge were all too commonplace. Today, Boot Hill Graveyard tells the story of those lawless times. Today, Tombstone is a quiet town, a place where tourists can see mementos of the wild and woolly West. The Birdcage Theater, once the hangout of miners, gamblers, and notorious killers. The Tombstone Epitaph Office, still publishing the paper that recorded the town's rip-roaring past. And the abandoned mines which once produced millions of dollars in silver ore. But copper is the mineral in which Arizona leads. Among principal copper-producing centers are Jerome, Miami and Globe, Superior and Ray, Morenci, Bisbee, and Ajo. These districts produce most of the gold and silver, too, as byproducts of copper mining. At Ajo is the new Cornelia open pit mine. Spaniards worked high-grade copper deposits here in 1750. About 100 years later, the first incorporated mining company in the territory was established. Today, the large low-grade deposits are mined economically through the use of mechanically operated equipment. Churn drills make holes for the explosive used to break up the rock. Before blasting, rigid safety rules are observed. All miners must leave the area. Now, with the rock loosened, massive electric shovels go to work, loading the ore train. Into the crusher goes the ore, the first of many operations in the mine's concentration mill. At present, ore concentrates are shipped elsewhere, but soon a smelter will be built here, another milestone in Ajo's history. Morenci, founded in 1871, is the home of Arizona's largest copper-producing mine, second largest in the United States. The Morenci pit is a striking example of man's mastery of a difficult problem. The ores are very low grade, and for every ton worth treating, a ton of waste material must first be removed. In fact, 50 million tons of waste were disposed of before large-scale copper production could start. Yes, millions of dollars were spent in developing Morenci, but efficient use of machinery and labor has justified that investment. The Morenci pit and its immense reduction plant will continue to provide employment for years to come in an industry of paramount importance to mankind's well-being, the mining, concentrating, and smelting of copper. Dumping the slag, molten rock waste, a man-made lava flow. The copper, also containing the gold and silver, goes into molds on a casting wheel to produce large slabs called anodes. Copper anodes are shipped to refineries for further purification and for extraction of the silver and gold. Bisbee, near the Mexican border, has a mining history going back to 1877. Bisbee's Copper Queen, an underground mine, has maintained a rich output through the years and recently has become an important lead and zinc producer. Regular shifts of miners keep the mine operating around the clock. They go deep underground to send up the ore. The copper is smelted at Douglas, nearby. Arizona's copper smelters are symbols of a leading industry. In most of the important mining centers, at least one of these costly plants dominates the scene. And in every district are mines which for years have been helping to meet the world's demand for copper. As for other metallic minerals, the state has numerous deposits of most of them, and many mines engaged in their production. Arizona is also rich in practically all of the non-metallic minerals. Most mines producing them are small, but of great importance to the state's mineral wealth. And each year, more plants for processing non-metallics are being constructed. Yes, through the years, the earth of Arizona has yielded greater treasure than even the conquistadors imagined. Arizona's earth is also rich in those minerals necessary to luxuriant plant growth. But where rainfall is insufficient, nothing save desert plants will grow. Getting water to the land was a problem with Arizona's first farmers, its prehistoric people. Others who came later irrigated on a small scale, but the first step toward real agricultural importance wasn't taken until 1911, when Roosevelt Dam was built. It was the beginning of a vast irrigation project in the Salt River Valley. An assured supply of water, ready to be applied to the rich land whenever and wherever needed, and a mild climate with an abundance of sunshine, have made the Salt River Valley one of the world's most productive farm areas. Much of the lettuce for America's salads comes from the valley. When lettuce cutting is over, the same lands may be planted to melons or other produce, for the growing season is continuous. Carrots and other root vegetables are produced in quantities running into thousands of carloads. Oranges and grapefruit are the principal fruit crops. Freedom from frost, almost constant sunshine, and an ideal soil lead to citrus fruits of superior flavor. Date groves add an exotic air to the Salt River Valley. All dates must be pollinated by hand, just one of the special techniques required in their cultivation. Wheat, ripening where once only cactus grew, produces from 20 to 45 bushels per acre. Barley is a major crop. Most seasons, about 50,000 acres in the valley are planted to it, and harvest time reveals the high productivity of irrigated land. Cotton is an important cash crop. The yield per acre stands among the highest in the United States. Alfalfa is grown extensively for pasturage and for hay. 5 or more cuttings a year are not unusual. The magic of large-scale irrigation was repeated with Coolidge Dam on the Gila River. Later came Imperial Dam on the lower Colorado. Some of its impounded water is diverted to California and some to the Yuma Valley, an important irrigated district in southwestern Arizona. But before Imperial Dam was built, Hoover Dam first tamed the wild Colorado, an accomplishment which remains one of the greatest engineering feats of all time. Many are the benefits besides irrigation brought about by such giants. They control floods and conserve water. They produce power for cities, factories, mines, and farms. And they create recreational areas like Lake Mead, largest artificial body of water in the world. Each year, thousands of persons visit this popular playground to enjoy water sports in a desert setting. At Davis Dam site on the Colorado south of Hoover, the work of reclamation is being carried forward. Davis Dam will be the last of a series controlling the lower river. It will help meet Arizona's need for more hydroelectric power, but the demand for more water remains. The Colorado must supply Arizona's water requirements because practically all other sources have been harnessed. Where surface water is unobtainable, wells with electric pumps are employed. But lowering of the underground water table has placed limits on this practice. However, water from underground has increased the acreage brought under cultivation to a considerable extent. One of Arizona's oldest industries, cattle raising, has benefited from irrigation. Now, fattening of beef cattle in pens or irrigated pasture with locally grown grain, alfalfa, silage, and cottonseed meal is big business. No longer is it necessary to ship cattle out of the state for fattening. Breeding stock is kept on the range. A major portion of Arizona's acreage provides grazing lands, and in most of the state, the climate allows year-round ranging without special winter feed. Life on a ranch has retained much of the spirit of the Old West. A good cow pony, a rope, and spurs are just as essential now as they were in years past. But the true cowboys earn their wages by hard work, not by emulating the Hollywood brand. Nevertheless, the color and action of ranch life appealed to the Easterner, and his desire to take part led to dude ranching, another important Arizona business. Arizonans are proud of weather reports showing that they have more sunny days per year than other states. And in central and southern Arizona, the warm winters attract numerous visitors to many health resorts, specializing in relaxation in the sun, with sports and social gatherings for entertainment. Arizona's sunshine, climate, and hospitality have accelerated the growth of its cities. Phoenix, capital and largest city, and a center for winter visitors, rose from desert wasteland in less than a lifetime. It is modern in every respect, with fine residential districts, several parks offering a variety of recreational activities, beautiful architecture, and excellent schools. Tucson, second largest city, grew out of one of the oldest Spanish towns in the United States. Old Tucson looked something like this set for a motion picture on Arizona's early history. Much of the Spanish influence has been retained by modern Tucson in the design of its churches, residences, and public buildings, and a goodly number of its citizens speak Spanish. Tucson is the home of the University of Arizona, one of the Southwest's finest educational institutions. Because of its geographical location, the university offers unusual opportunities in the fields of mining engineering, agriculture, anthropology, and other subjects. Much older than the university is the Mission San Javier del Bac, founded in 1700 by Father Kino. This ancient structure is in sharp contrast to new buildings going up in all of Arizona's growing cities. Yet the old ways hold forth as Mexicans mix clay and straw to make adobe bricks, a construction technique introduced by the earliest Spaniards. The culture and customs of her citizens of Mexican descent add further interest to the Arizona scene, especially in border towns like Nogales and Douglas, the state's third largest city. Douglas, a gateway to Sonora, has some of the local color of her southern neighbor, including street musicians, always willing to serenade tourists or anyone with an ear for music. Entertainment of Arizona's guests is uppermost in the minds of chambers of commerce who organize parades, fiestas, and pageants. This is all great fun for the home folks, too. And in Arizona towns, both large and small, the culmination of festivities is usually the rodeo, a dramatic link with a frontier heritage. Sticking to a rip-snorting bronco is no job for a tenderfoot. However, many dudes have ridden bucking broncos without being thrown. It's just a matter of choosing the right horse, like this trusty steed out Wickenburg way. Some who come to Arizona's ranches and resorts may not be expert riders, but they ride well enough to enjoy the beauty of desert trails. The beauty of strange desert growths, particularly the giant cactus, or saguaro, found only in southern Arizona and part of Mexico. In the ribbed trunks and arms is stored water, absorbed by the roots during the wet season. The ridges expand like an accordion and contract again as the water is used. Blossoms growing high on tips of the arms are Arizona's official state flower. Though the saguaro cactus symbolizes the desert, there is an infinite variety of others whose spring blooms are like jewels scattered over the drab earth. The ocotillo is not a true cactus, but a shrub with thin, thorny stems topped by flame-like blossoms. Palo Verde, the desert's most beautiful tree, flowers in April and May. The century plant blooms only once, then dies. Yes, Arizona's desert country is a region of many surprises. But all of Arizona is not desert or irrigated land. There is another Arizona, the pine-clad plateau and high mountain areas. Most of the state's timber is national forest land, a vital natural resource. Besides providing lumber, the forest offers recreation, and it gives sanctuary to many kinds of wildlife, including the wild turkey, which under the protection of state game laws is still quite common. The forest protects watersheds against erosion and rapid runoff, an extremely important item to a state whose whole economy depends on water supply. The forest is also a pasture for sheep and cattle. But in spite of the tremendous value of Arizona's forests and precautions taken to protect them, fire caused by careless persons takes a terrible toll. All this needless devastation of growing trees and those that were ready for harvesting could have been avoided if only someone had believed in science. When mature trees are to be cut, Forest Service officers mark each one. Only those so marked may be logged by the lumber company, which is highest bidder, has purchased the timber. To ensure that the forest will continue to produce through years to come, care is taken as the trees are felled and started on their way to the sawmill. Into the mill go the logs, and out comes the lumber at the other end. Forest products more precious than the legendary gold of the ancient Spaniards. This mill is at Flagstaff, one of Arizona's principal lumber towns. It is also a center for summer vacationers who seek the cool, invigorating air near San Francisco Peaks, highest in Arizona. Lowell Observatory, where astronomers discovered a new planet in 1930, and Arizona State Teachers College are among several cultural institutions at Flagstaff. Its annual Indian powwow is a highlight of the summer season. Indians from other southwestern states and tourists from everywhere join in a 3-day festival. But in Arizona, one doesn't need to go to a powwow to see Indians. They may be seen in many places, for there are 17 tribes and 19 different reservations. This old Apache can remember the days when her tribe fiercely resisted the encroaching white man. Today, the Apaches are skilled cattlemen, and with the help of government experts have improved their herds so that they compare favorably with the best in the state. O'Reilly, a Hopi Indian pueblo, is the oldest continuously inhabited town in North America. It is one of several Hopi villages where life still follows its age-old pattern, little changed by modern civilization. Pottery making is practiced by other Arizona tribes, but the Hopi excel. All the vessels are shaped completely by hand, for the potter's wheel was unknown to America's aborigines. Through the centuries, mothers have passed the art down to their daughters, and much of the pottery produced today is patterned after prehistoric forms. Ceremonial plaques and baskets are also made by the Hopi, and an art form found in no other tribe, the Kachina doll. Each one represents some supernatural being or spirit, and is a replica of the traditional costume worn by male Hopis in deeply religious ceremonies. Hopi children are given dolls and taught the legends pertaining to them. The men carve the kachinas, then apply the symbolic colors and decorations. Simplified versions of the traditional dolls are often made for sale to the tourist trade. The skill shown in the production of handicrafts can be applied to modern occupations, and some Indians have found employment in Arizona's mines and other industries. But fundamentally, most Indians prefer their own way of life in their natural environment. They desire the freedom out of doors that is their heritage. This is especially true of the semi-nomadic Navajo, whose reservation contains Monument Valley, a place of weird beauty. Navajo children learn to love the lonely land at an early age, for they are given the responsibility of herding the sheep and goats, the family's chief source of food and income. But overgrazing of the arid range has induced erosion, and no longer will the land support the growing Navajo nation unless irrigation and other measures bring greater production. In the summer, Navajo live in brush shelters, quickly erected as they follow their flocks from place to place. Many still grind corn in the primitive way of their ancestors. Turquoise and silver jewelry is worn by practically all Navajo. They also make it for sale. Rugs are hand-woven with wool from their own sheep. The weaver follows no drawn pattern. Her fingers reproduce the design pictured in her mind. Yes, Arizona's Indians offer a splendid opportunity for study of cultures fast disappearing in this modern age. But no less interesting are the remains of earlier civilizations found throughout the state. Prehistoric ruins like these in the Canyon de Chelly. Most areas containing ruins have been set aside as national monuments for protection against vandalism and to preserve them for all to study and enjoy. Much has been learned about the culture of the ancient peoples who lived in such places through scientific excavations supervised by eminent anthropologists. They gather bits of evidence which, when correlated with other finds, give an ever clearer picture of ancient times. It is even possible to estimate closely when a certain dwelling was built. Upatki Ruin, for instance, was built at the end of the 11th century A.D. How do we know? The secret lies in the logs, which were used in construction. Logs have yearly growth rings, and scientists of the University of Arizona discovered a method in which study of the growth rings reveals the year of the dwelling's construction. Application of the method has resulted in the dating of many prehistoric sites throughout the world. Some of Arizona's ruins have not as yet been completely surveyed, but as national monuments they belong to the people and are open for inspection. Most have good roads leading to them. Arizona's highways also beckon toward a lavish display of scenic and geological wonders. For grandeur, few places can surpass Oak Creek Canyon with its sandstone cliffs and spires and its rippling streams. One of Arizona's main attractions is the Petrified Forest, another national monument where rangers explain how prehistoric trees turned to stone. The area has 5 separate forests of petrified wood. The beauty of individual specimens is enhanced if they are polished to bring out the rich coloring. The Petrified Forest also contains part of the Painted Desert, which covers an area 300 miles long on the north bank of the Little Colorado River. The brilliantly colored sandstones, shales, and marls have been exposed by eons of erosion. Among other geological features is Sunset Crater, a volcanic cinder cone near Flagstaff. A huge lava flow at the base shows clearly the contortions taken by the molten rock. Arizona's crowning glory is the Grand Canyon. greatest of all natural wonders. But one must see this masterpiece to appreciate it. This cathedral that took millions of years to build defies description. This, then, is Arizona, the Grand Canyon State, where nature's sculptors have molded the earth into fantastic forms, where man-made giants have turned deserts into flourishing farms, home of the cowboy, of the lumberjack, and the Indian, land of the prospector and the miner, where rich mineral deposits are a keystone of a nation's economy, where a progressive present stems from a pioneer past, land of color, land of contrast, land of beauty. The saguaro cactus state, the youngest state. This is Arizona.